Welcome. And it's Julia and Deelle.
Hello.
Hello. And I'm back this week after the crappiest week that I could have possibly. So it's kind of the inspiration, I guess, behind what we are going to talk about tonight, which is using your emotions to guide us towards more positive actions or positive changes in our life. So fitting.
So fitting. So fitting.
So fitting.
Yeah, I mean, holy cow, this, just telling DL this today, I think, I'm not sure how many of you are full moon sensitive. I know that I feel like I'm Doreen Virtue right now. Full moon sensitive.
I am raising my hand.
Yeah, and I think a number of people are, and I think it's just been really, it was an intense one. I guess what was it? It was called the pink moon. Pink moon.
Yes. Yeah. It was.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Oh, gorgeous. Beautiful. So gorgeous, but powerful.
Yeah. And I'm that type of person too that's so affected by that type of stuff. So sensitive. Yeah. When stuff really starts to go wrong, it's usually some powerful force. Like
beyond control here, and it becomes so subconscious where it's just sort of, well, not subconscious, but it's like playing in that realm of the subconscious where you're not even like, why am I feeling like this? Ugh.
Yeah, it was awful. So I'll dive into a little bit of what I was dealing with just before we get actually into the actual stuff. So it was just a really crazy week with a bunch of bad things happening. Like my aunt fell down the stairs and broke her leg and her wrist and her elbow, and then our dog was diagnosed with early heart failure, so she was on her way out, and then Tyson was sick, and then we had a water leak in our basement, and it was just like boom, 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 like one thing.
Big old test. Here you go, Deelle. What are you going to do with it all? What are you going to do?
Exactly. And it was so just, one thing on top of another. So, I think it's important to have this conversation tonight because, as a coach and as a person that lives a spiritual life and a positive life, it's not always that way.
No, it's not. And it's an interesting, I like how a positive life, that in itself is interesting, like what does that mean?
Yeah. What does that mean? That's a good question. I know. Yeah. I just try to see things from just a different perspective. So when things are going completely wrong, I like to kind of flip it around as in, I'm alive.
Yeah. Find the opportunity in the obstacle, right?
Right. Yeah, exactly. So just living just trying to see things from just a different perspective. I guess that's the best way I can describe that. But I think when it comes to emotions, I think it's kind of like I liked to have it explain kind of like the different components of our emotions because there are different components of it. So I think we can maybe dive into that. So the first thing would be the subjective component. So how we experience our emotions. So when something happens, like what reaction kind of we have like
big time
in our brain, right? Like what goes on there. And then we have the physiological. So what's going on actually within our body, like that, how our body actually reacts. And then it's the expressive. So how we behave in response to our emotions, which is what I was really struggling with.
The behavior. Yeah. So how did you find it that you struggled with that in terms of the way that you expressed your, as you were feeling all of these things piling on top? What?
Well, I changed into a very just angry and short with like my husband and my son, and the poor kid was sick too. I mean, it's so sad. But, it changed who I normally am.
Mm-hmm.
And, so all those different components there, like they all play in together. So, I mean, how I was experiencing my emotions, so the subjective. So when like the water leak happened, it was just like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Like.
Yeah. It's interesting though, when you think about the subjective part, like it's also about what you hear. So like, let's say, okay, so the plumber says to you, you've got a water leak, like it's going to be this amount of money to fix. We've got to do this. It's going to take this amount of time. And maybe, so what he's saying to you is logically, what is the next step into how do we solve this problem? But what you're hearing is another thing, another level, one more, like really, like, oh, universe, like, that's what you're hearing. It's totally objective, right?
Yes, exactly. Totally.
Yeah. And that's interesting. So, when you think about communication between partners, right? Like, so, even if, let's say you short with your husband and you snap at him and, he's hearing you being mean to him, but you're hearing like, I'm just so up to here, and my emotions are just taking over, so it's, to be aware of that is like a serious skill. Serious.
Yes. Yeah, it really, really is, because I think a lot of us are guilty of that, right? Like when you're in the relationship, I know I can relate to that for sure. Like it's just, you're right. It just piles up and piles up and piles up, and it's the hearing. It's all the crappy things I keep hearing that it's just too much, right? It comes to a boiling point, and that's kind of when I start to, my body starts to react. So the physiological side of things starts to change, where I feel like anxiety and my stomach hurts and I just feel tired. I feel like really fatigued in that type of
like you situation. Hit a wall. Right?
Yeah, like I just mentally, physically, and things just, and I also respond by not treating my body very well in that moment. Like I don't want to eat healthy. I don't want to exercise. I don't want to do any of those things. So when it's actually a moment when you should take even more care of yourself, it's like you don't want to.
I know. And you can allow that to just take over so easily, and like also in a way, like it's to the point of like, it's, to make us thrive or avoid danger, right? Like pleasure and pain. We talked about this before. So, when you're feeling all of these things piling up and the last thing you're like, do I need to work out right now? No, I don't. Do I need to go outside and go for a walk and get off my butt right now? Nope. Don't want to do that, because it's like this next level of stuff or, exercise or perceived effort or pain. We're like, I could do without that right now. I've got enough. Yeah. But in reality, it's going to make us thrive. I mean, we all know that when we exercise, we release endorphins and, logically, again, right? Like the objective part of it, this will help. Subjectively, hell no, It's just funny how our brains really, really motivates our behavior.
Yeah. And that's kind of, I guess, our next point that we want to get into is just like what role do emotions actually play in our lives? So, they actually motivate us to take action. Yeah. That's a big one, right? I like to think of, just give an example of like, if you feel anxious, like say you're in school and you feel anxious to write a test, like that anxiety sometimes makes people actually study more.
Yep. Absolutely.
Or something along those lines, right? So, yeah, what else?
I mean, even you reminded me of an example in my own life when you said school. So I did my PR degree, and then I worked, I did 3 different co-ops. So it was about a year working in that like office environment kind of thing. Yeah. And then I had other different experiences just after that, and promotions and all kinds of different things. And the feeling that I got from, basically it's like you're communicating on behalf of someone else. Right. So there's no authenticity there. There's no truth to that. Not that there's no truth, because depending on who you work for, of course, but it's one of those things where I just felt so icky. And that feeling, that icky, like, is this really what I want to be doing? Is this really what I should, where I should be? That feeling was my motivation into taking action and applying for hair school. And then so it moved me into taking action and completely switching gears into in my life. It was always awkward to me. Like it did, that office type of corporate vibe.
Oh,
ooh, I don't work in here, like this is,
I know, I was gonna say, you don't seem like a corporate girl.
No, and I would always be the one like going to everybody's cubicle being like, how you doing today? Like, let's chat, and just not that I couldn't do work and my work wasn't good, but it was, it was just not what drove me, and my emotions, being a hugely kinesthetic person, were the driving force in that. And
so it helped you make a decision. Right? So emotions can help. I mean, and it can be a really big decision like that, like not wanting to stay in this career, or it could be as little as like, oh, what am I going to eat for a snack, or and then again, a big decision like, oh, who am I going to marry, right? Like all those are based on our emotions at that time. For sure. And they also, like the emotions, they allow us to actually understand other people and understand ourselves. That's a big thing too, like body language, facial expressions, being able to talk about your actual feelings, like express those emotions to another person.
Well, that's that whole NLP, right? Like, really learning people's body languages, learning the way that they express themselves, even to the point of like, okay, I lean to my right a lot. Like, you know what I mean? Like those kind of things are like, and when I'm particularly like talking, like right now, talking about explaining a concept. So that's more of my leaning to the right, more of my masculine side of like, okay, logic, we're thinking about an idea here, right? Like there's all of those tiny little subtleties in how your emotions and how you're creating that subjective reality, really play a part. Like it's so interesting. And to even kind of build on, your particular example of this whole last week, they're so like an integral, huge piece of our mental health, and so important, and as you experience, trickles into your physical health, into your spiritual health, like all of these things, right?
Yeah, so they can really be called like the keys to our well-being.
Well, right. And it's, and I agree 100%, the keys to our well-being. And, to just go jump into the whole idea behind the 5 elements, like water is the element that would govern emotions, right? So think about how, we're 72% water. Like our emotions are a huge part of us. And when you think about like living from the heart, right? Your emotions, and so when you begin to be able to really truly do that all of the time, you have a much more balanced emotional mental health. Like it's like it becomes, because you're just like, you're eliminating all of the other, I don't know, like it's just that it eliminates more of that subjective like realities where you get really like confused, right? You're hearing one thing versus what is actually happening. Right?
Yeah, exactly. I've always been such a heart-driven person. And, growing up, I think it like just used to annoy a lot of people, like just being, so carefree.
It's just ahead of your time.
Yeah. Like I'm like, dive in head first type of person. Like if something doesn't feel right, I just don't do it anymore. I just quit it. Like just cold turkey, gone, right? It could be a job. It could be, and I noticed that a lot with, like when I was a personal trainer and I was actually doing, these fitness classes and training people. And for me, I just felt like when I was with my clients, I loved them dearly.
Yeah.
They were with me for many years, and but it was just there was something just didn't feel right about doing these classes because I knew that there was something deeper going on with these people, like emotionally, and they weren't changing, they weren't getting the results that they wanted, and it wasn't that we weren't doing the exercising and all this stuff. There's just so much more going on there. And it just, I wanted to be able to dive into that with people, and I just couldn't in that situation. So my body was literally like, no.
Yeah.
Like my stomach wouldn't feel right when I would start going. And I'm just like, and then I said, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm doing like a major disservice, like to them, but also to myself. So that was just another situation of like being totally led by the heart. It just didn't feel right anymore. So it just had to go.
Yeah.
And
now you're here.
Yeah.
Which is great. So, as hard as those times are where you are feeling crappy and it does make your stomach hurt, hurts your heart a little bit. But, like we always say, it leads you in the direction that you need to go, right? It's an indicator. It's a compass. Actually, I was watching the Inner Unicorn today, and I loved that. It's a compass.
I love that too. It is. It is so true. And, when we can view our emotions as a compass, then we really know when we are going in the right direction and we know when we're not. And, the negative side, the negative emotions, like that is the big wake up call to, go in a different direction. Like something, you're not on the right path here. So yeah, the compass. Don't you just love that?
I do. I really do. And it makes me think of, there's no such thing as like a still compass, right? But, when you experience that feeling of like, all I can think of it is being like half alive, where it's like, you're not. So we have that spectrum, that whole circle, that compass, negative, positive, and everywhere in between. And we rotate around, and given on, let's say the heart is the magnet, the polarizing part of the compass, and it's taking us where we need to go. But what if that magnet is shut down or is not working properly, and you're literally, if that feeling of half alive and you're like a shell? Well, what happens then?
Oh yeah, you wrote about that
a little bit. Yeah, like I
like that.
Yeah. And so, I just spent so long in that place, where you're just like, you're just kind of going, like the compass is just sort of hanging out. It's like a tool that's in the toolbox, but it's not being used.
Yeah. That's interesting. So the magnet in the compass not being there. And so how does that, like, how does it come back?
Oh, yeah. Like, and I think that, right. I think a big part of, some of the major kind of key points that we're making is that the negative and the positive are both necessary and play equal parts. And I think the way that you start to get that, just like in a magnet, negative attraction, positive attraction, they come together and they magnetize, right? Like, right?
Like that.
And it all kind of, it falls right in. And I think that once, maybe what helped me was just slowing down enough and being able to be with the negative emotion. Be with them and invite them in and let them tell me the subjective, the psychological, the expressive, like let them tell me the messages that I needed to know. And, but you have to be open. I think it's like, that's where that rock bottom happens, right? It's like you go rock bottom. I'm envisioning the toolbox, all of the tools being in there, and all of a sudden enough things happen, enough obstacles happen in your way that you trip and the toolbox falls and it's all over the place. And you're just like, okay, well, now I'm in the process of picking everything back up. So what does that look like, and how, what do I value and what do I not value to put back in that toolbox?
Right, exactly. And that just really, that plays back into human behavior and the pain and the pleasure thing, right? Like the rock bottom, like, because we avoid pain at all costs. So when something becomes so painful, then you change, right?
Yeah.
Because
you don't change when things are going good, right?
Yeah. Human behavior is so fascinating.
Really
so fascinating, and just being driven by those two things, like pain versus pleasure, right? So like if you really want to change, like just associate so much pain with that thing that you want to change that you will change. Like that is just human behavior psychology. It's so fascinating. So
it's so fascinating.
Yeah, it really is. So
well, I just wanted to share really quickly before I move to the point, just something really in terms of the fascinating part of it. I never pronounced his name right, but the guy who owns Mind Valley Fish.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
He, an amazing man. And I love his articles, and he had written one on meditation and doing the brainwave, the neural feedback, I think it's called. But he was doing this whole big thing for like a weekend or like weeks. Like it was this long experiment with the guy who is the CEO of Bulletproof Coffee. So they went thing together. So, and then he wrote all about his experience, but it was this neurofeedback. I don't think I'm actually saying that right, but it's something like that. Okay. And so what they found, they tried all these different types of meditation and different ways of thinking. So visualizing, like going on, astral traveling, all these different things. But what they were in the purpose was to increase the theta waves. And then the delta waves, right? Those are the ones that get really that clear the brain, like they're doing the work, right? And so what they found was when their theta waves were the highest was when they focused on forgiveness. So to your point of creating so much pain around something, so visualizing and say, okay, so his example was somebody had stolen from him in their business when it was first starting. So visualize this man, and he visualized the situation to the point where it was like it was killing him inside, like just eating him up. And then he just blasted it with forgiveness and just totally put himself in the other guy's shoes, and like just made up at like, had a super empathetic, like totally role reversal, and the theta waves go up through the roof. So just to completely speak to your point, being able to do that, like almost not force yourself, but create that rock bottom around something, create the pain. So it's motivating you enough to go completely the other way,
Absolutely.
And
absolutely,
the things run his head. We were seeing the pictures, like it's not just that positive culture.
Yeah, it's real. It's scientifically proven. This stuff. Absolutely. So it's like it works.
It works.
Like even the meditation. I mean, it's so powerful. And forgiveness. My goodness, forgiveness is just like such a freeing and powerful thing to do. And, to really, like you said, like he came to the situation with like empathy and like understanding towards another person, because there is another person in that whole situation. And, when you can come to that with empathy, to put yourself in someone else's shoes, like you said, I mean, it's like, so like awareness, right? That first awareness of creating that, like putting yourself there. Okay. This is where he might've been coming from, and like, really knowing that story. And then all of a sudden you can have compassion for that empathy
piece, right? Like you kind of move through that phase of
Yeah.
understand where he might have come from, et
Mm-hmm.
cetera, et cetera. And then you can move into that forgiveness part.
Yeah.
And then you can really let the stuff go, you know?
Right.
Just
And
like,
like learning a lot about human behavior psychology. I freaking love this stuff. It makes so much sense. And when you can actually like start to understand why people actually do the things that they do, even if it's like so ridiculous you can't even understand how somebody can do that.
yeah,
They're really what everyone's always trying to do is they're trying to meet these basic needs that every single person on the planet has. So you can like try to meet these needs in a positive way, or you can try to meet your needs in a negative way. But the thing is that you're trying to meet these needs. So a lot of the times, like when somebody does something that's like mean to us, then it's just them wanting to feel significant because they feel insignificant in their own life. So that's their way of meeting that need. Them being mean to you, them stealing something from you. That is their way of making them feel significant in their life. And that's human behavior. Psychology is like meeting all these needs. It's so fascinating. And when you can actually like come to the situations in your life that where you do have to forgive somebody and you can come to it with that understanding of somebody having to meet their needs, it starts to change everything. You can start to kind of make sense of it in a situation where you probably couldn't have made sense before.
right, completely. And like you said, find that compassion. It's totally leading from the heart, right? Like putting yourself in somebody else's place like that. And,
Right.
and yeah, those basic needs of, being a human and wanting to be loved and accepted and, all those, the six, all the different ways, but,
Yeah.
yeah, and so subconscious, you don't even realize like, okay, I'm, before maybe you are being mean to somebody, you're walking on somebody to get to, maybe it's a job thing, right? You're credit for an idea that wasn't yours or, whatever it is, right? Those types of things that people do.
Yeah.
And, you don't even realize a lot of times subconsciously what you're doing.
Yeah.
Yes.
I know.
Yeah.
It's so true. So yeah, I love that we got on that topic.
I know. So let's go back actually, because there's an interesting part that I think is really fascinating in all of this. Thinking about this compass and thinking about the negative and the positive and our positivity culture that we live in. And I think that is it's a hot topic right now. Like I feel like there's a ton of articles. I feel like I'm reading a lot of different posts about it. And I think people are really starting to realize that, it's just not realistic.
Yeah. And yeah, absolutely. And I mean, like the negative emotions and positive, like those both like serve purposes in our lives for sure. But our society is definitely pushing the positivity. But you see, I'm a positive person. One of my strengths as a human being is positivity.
Yeah.
But what I'm not doing, it's not like, I'm sad, but I'm going to smile. It's not that.
Yes.
Right. And that's the problem. It's when people are being kind of like forced to not feel the emotion. I mean, I'm positive. I mean, I wrote a freaking ebook on like,
I know.
a guy guaranteed to make your life better.
Sparkles. I just love it. And yes. And we need that in our world. We absolutely do. But like to your point, we cannot. That doesn't mean that you don't have these emotions or that you're not actually feeling. Or, I'm sad and I am feeling insecure right now. I'm feeling this right now and I can't figure it out. But everything's fine. I'm good. I'm fine.
That's the problem.
I have a coworker. God love her. I love her. She's the cutest. She's Australian. Anyway, not besides the point. But that's her line, and I always call her on it because I'm coming, and like I said, I'm the person in the office who comes to the door, and I'm like, "How you doing today?" And she'll tell me. She'll look right at me. I'm just fine. I'm fine. Everything's great. Like that. It's bullshit. Like, and then I know it's time to pull up the chair and have a seat.
Yeah.
But, it's just, and maybe that's where we break the compass. Maybe that's where we rub we make the magnetic piece that makes it all work not magnetic anymore because we're totally, like
Yes.
breathing falsely, right? You're not, and I think that things like envy or pride, all of those kinds of emotions do that kind of stuff,
Yeah.
that for somebody to be like, I'm fine, or, no, I'm sad really on the inside, but I'm just going to smile through this whole day and take
Mm-hmm.
it in stride,
Yeah, no, just like, and like what a release crying is. Like, how you feel after like the best cry, right? Like it's this release of emotion that, a lot of people block and don't let that come out, right? So I'm sad, I want to cry, but I'm going to put a smile on my face and just pretend like everything's okay. Like what a major disservice you're doing to your mental health. Like it's
Totally.
just we're here in this world because we need to experience emotion. That's why we're here. This is the only place that we get to experience that is here.
It's so
The
cool.
emotion. Like
Yeah.
it's so cool. So we have to, and I kind of like to think that there's pros to the negative emotions, right? Like
Yeah.
there's pros to that. And I just wanted to mention too that there's actually been studies like so people that are actually like fighting against the negative emotions.
Yeah.
So there's actually been studies done where if you're what is it? I can't remember now. I'm losing my train of thought, Julia.
Like if you are like thinking about things and you don't talk about them or allow them to come out, and
Yeah.
you can like you mentioned like you dream about them, like people who
Yes.
grin and bear it. And how many
Yes.
that right there, that grin and bear it, and I know I'm getting off a little tangent here. We'll come back to the studies, but maybe it'll make you jog your memory. But
Yeah.
I find that is such a thing that women do. Like not to absolutely men do it too, and I'm not taking anything away from them, but I feel like especially even, as a mother, I'm not a mother, but moms, I've watched my mom do it, I've watched my grandmother do it, I've watched other moms do it, and it's like that silent sufferer. You feel like you have to take the responsibility for everything because that's what you should do, and that's what your mother does, and all of that crap that is just like not real. And you can see them in the grocery store. They've got, they're in line and their kids are wild and they're just all over the place and they're like trying to figure it out, and their hair's over here, and you're just you're like this close to bawling your eyes out. This, to appear strong, and you just want to go up and hug them and be like, it's okay. What you're feeling right now.
Yeah. And it's funny you mentioned that too, because, as you've done the survey before, but I'm doing the survey now.
Yeah.
Kind of asking women, like, what are they really, really struggling with? And one of the things, that comes up on the list is like, one of the things that they feel like they need to be doing is like, being strong and taking on everybody's stuff.
Yeah.
Right? So they're actually really living very unhappy lives because of that. Yeah. Like that's one of the struggles that they have is taking on everyone's stuff. And it is like
it's a thing.
It's too much.
Too much. And I think it's like this, but I could talk about this stuff for hours. Like the roles that we designate for nurturers or mothers or even fathers, right? Like, and emotions play a huge role in that, right? Like in terms of that subjective and expressive, so psychological, like all of those things play a huge role in how, as a nurturer, and especially that role in the child's life so young, 0 to like even 7, 8 is, I find really when more of that masculine, in child's development, that masculine role comes in to kind of lift out the personality in a child. But, it's like, so why when you are expressive in that nurturing role, why does that mean that you have to be this strong, take it all on person? Like, how does that make sense? Like I don't know. It's so weird how we've collectively agreed that women, obviously, but parents in general have to be, that you lose DL when you become a mom. You know what I mean?
Yes, that is that's a real thing.
Yeah.
When you become a parent, I'm DL, but now I'm mom too. So I lose the identity that I had as DL for a little while. It's back now, but that's kind of what happens, right? It's just kind of a natural evolution, I think, of becoming a mom and like part of a woman's life who has children, and that's tough.
That's so like is that natural? Is that something that is in fact natural, right? Like, or is it just something that, like I said, we've collectively decided through hundreds of years of it being there, being that way, that we've sort of, but I think now we're really starting to see some shifts.
Some shit.
Shifts in our world, like we really are, like things are happening now, and this has become, you have a lot more women out there, a lot more female entrepreneurs out there, just like, moms that do stay at home and are killing it on the internet and making like bajillions of dollars. Like, we're just seeing more of that now where, it does add to Sam's point there. It adds to who you are, right? Rather than kind of like this, like, here's DL, here's mom, and then eventually you get to, you know what I mean? Like, instead you're adding, right?
Yeah, and it's the craziest thing because, before becoming a mom, it was like, I felt in my mind that everything was going to be just the same. I'm going to be the same person. Everything's fine. But then after it happens, you go, oh, wait a second. And then life just becomes about someone else, which is a great thing. And I'm not saying
fine.
And I'm not saying that's not, that's a great thing.
But that's what I mean. That's what you do, right? Everything's fine. And it just,
yeah, I'm good, but I'm not really at all. Exactly.
But this is the cool part, right? Like, this is a part where, you're having these conversations and, whoever, all of you that are listening and whoever listens later, like it plants a seed to think about how you actually, like, you don't need to fit that mold of our preconceived collective decisions of how emotions should make you feel, right? You really do get to choose how that works.
Yeah.
And the compass, that's like a perfect little visual for you to use, right? And, and to go back to that, there are pros of emotions, right? Yeah. That's really giving you, a point you made in the beginning. It's like, it's giving you direction. It's giving you, options because, it's changing the dynamic of how you feel about something.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, I love that idea of the pros to the negative emotions, right? Because we think of negative emotions as being like, oh, there's a whole bunch of cons, right? But no, there's actually so much pros in it because, I mean, they provide the vital clues for our life, for our health, for our relationships, for any other areas that we feel that we need attention. Right? Vital clues.
So vital. And like, but the thing is that's what my point there is, like, being half dead and like not alive and not reeling. It's like, they are vital and they are there and they're telling you things. Your body's telling you things, telling you emotions. But if you're not like awake to it, then, like, look what you just did. You took this whole week that you just were having all these crappy things happening to you and you turned it around and you're like, I'm going to tell people about it and I got to make it something so nobody else has to feel that way and know that it's okay when you feel that way and turn it around into this whole positive thing. Right.
Right. And that's really what it's about, because DL 3 years ago would have lived in that negativity and let it like totally derail her entire life for
Yeah.
like a month or longer. But the difference now is the feeling of the emotion and just being in it. And then just recognizing, when I started to feel anxious and when I started to feel angry, that's when I know my body needs space. That is a big thing. So then what I do is I kind of give myself room. So like I do a lot of volunteering and I was doing like these videos and stuff.
Yep.
So I was just like, you know what, for the week, I'm just going to like just give myself some space here. And, that's really, really important. But I know when I need that, when I start to feel the negativity. So then I don't, I feel those emotions, but I don't live there anymore. Like they're gone. I journal a lot, meditate, obviously. The journaling, I spend time in nature. Oh my gosh, like that's just a lifesaver. But I know I need to do those things.
So what do we do? What do we do with these guys? That was my next question. So like, how do we use mindfulness? How do we use these techniques? So what did you actually do this week? Space.
Yeah. So what I did was took break. I got rid of everything on my schedule that I could kind of get rid of, right? So like I coach track and field, I do these videos, and I just said, you know what? For this week, I'm just going to chill on them. And that was totally fine. So I gave myself the space that I needed. I also, again, spent time just in nature, just like breathing and just kind of letting that energy go, really. Journaled out a lot of the frustration and the anger, which actually helps just seeing things in, like I said earlier at the beginning, just a totally different perspective. So, and I actually have to think about that, right? So like my aunt falling and breaking bones in her body. And, she's in pain. That's terrible. It's really awful. But she'll heal. She's alive.
Yeah.
And then with the dog, it was like, well, yeah, she's on her way out, but, she's lived a nice long life. And then with Tyson, my son, it was like, well, he's growing. He's normally a very, very healthy boy. And then with the
and he's also in elementary school, like human petri dish. Jeez.
Yeah, exactly. So, and then with the water and the leak, it was just like, it is what it is. And we're never, ever given anything that we can't handle. And we're always taken care of. And I like the trust and surrender process that I have now is what saves me.
Awesome.
Because I know that it's going to be fine. Yes, it sucks now. It does. Like, you're not saying that it doesn't. It's just that, things are going to be fine. They really are. And that's not trying to put a smile on my face because I'm actually sad. It's not that. I felt the emotion. I went through it. I cried. I was frustrated. I was mad at my husband. We were bickering at each other first. But then, and one thing that actually helps too, and you'll appreciate this too, because I know you're big into relationships and stuff, is my husband and I have a rule that we never ever go to bed angry.
Yes, absolutely. Ever. And I think that went back into your study too that you were talking about. But yeah, tell me more about that.
So this is something that Alan, when we first started dating, that was kind of something that he brought up in the beginning.
Very cool.
And I was like, oh, okay, well, that's kind of interesting because Deelle back then was like a firecracker and very reactive in sometimes not the best ways. So, and not that we fought often or anything. It was just that, when you start living with somebody, just you're two different people. You have different ideas and different thoughts on things. And it
just could be as simple as you didn't help me do the dishes. Awesome.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. But it's stuck, like, even till this day. And, if we're just frustrated with each other, or, if we did get in an argument, which again doesn't happen often, but the respect is there, that we won't go to bed angry.
Awesome.
It's resolved, it's over. So really, it was kind of like a day of sitting in all that negativity, but knowing how I felt on the inside, like I said, about the anxiety and just being angry and frustrated, I knew what I needed to do next. So that was the positive actions that I took because of my negative situation. Yeah. And that's kind of, like I said, the inspiration as to why we wanted to talk about that today. So
cool. Yeah, exactly. It's just, you totally flipped it around. And I love what you said about it's the respect in that, right? And so within that relationship, having the respect for one another to acknowledge that, the day wasn't the easiest, but I still love you, I respect you, and, go to bed that way. But, then you think about your relationship with yourself. And it's like adding that level of respect to yourself. And it's like, I know today was crappy and I was super sad and I probably ate like too much chocolate, but I love you and I still respect you, and taking that time to slow down and chill out and journal. And, those are all that's self-respect. It's self-love, right?
Yes. And I'm so glad you said that, because that comes first now in my life. And it's not it's not selfish, because I still love my family and I still provide and do everything that I need to do for my family, but I do it in the best possible way that I can, because I do that.
Yes.
Because that comes first.
Awesome.
And that needs to be like driven home, especially to women.
Course 101, right? Like it starts with you. Like you are the ultimate relationship, right? And you are absolutely right. It shows respect for your family because you respect yourself, and you can do all of those things because you know that it's actually going to make everything so much easier if you just take care of yourself first.
Yeah. Right? Yeah. Because when you have like a lot going on, like, and in this situation, there was a lot of like this negative stuff going on. Like you can see the change within your body, and you can see how you start reacting towards your family. You're not reacting maybe in the best way towards them and stuff. And I can't help but think about women that, and I mean men too, that kind of go through their life, and that's what their life is like on a daily basis, right? And, not respecting themselves enough to do what they need to do to kind of get out of that space. And I think that makes me sad.
It makes me sad too, because absolutely. And that's why I wrote the email that I wrote today, is because, like, how many of you out there are walking around half dead?
I loved that email. Yeah.
Like always worried about the next thing, the next. I was listening to a Sadhguru thing today, and he was talking about the Egyptians and how they built the pyramids. And he was like, it's such an interesting culture, like just obsessed with death, even, to the point where they prevent it. You're going to the extreme of mummifying, and, you're saving your liver in a jar, like in a pot. Like, how does this make any sense? You're thinking that you're going to come back in that old broken body. Like, it's just so preoccupied with the future and what other, in our societies, like what people think, or, all of these things, or, what might happen, all of the things we've talked about is success, like protecting people, all of these reasons that people don't actually step into their purpose and into their authenticity. But it's really like, you're just like, it's like that dimly lit hallway, that you just like walk by, you don't see, because it just doesn't exist. And that's, there's so many people that, like you said, just live that way, and it's sad, and it's because you don't have to, you don't need to. And that was, really what I wanted to let people know, you know. And so many ways that you can come out of that are everything we just talked about, but of course, you know, all of the mindfulness piece, the forgiveness piece, but also investing in yourself, like having respect for yourself enough to be like, I'm going to step out of my comfort zone and maybe, you know, come join us for the Sacred Feminine course, or do another course, you do the Reiki course, or do whatever course, like your business course that you started last month or this month, right? Step outside of your comfort zone and turn the light on.
Yeah.
Right. And so then you can experience what you just experienced in this last week, where you're like, okay, yeah, life's off the tracks a little bit here. You know, you have space in the room to get the track back going. And now you're cruising along again. And in fact, everything that you just went through has become a positive and a driving force for you to share and uplift other people.
Exactly. I mean, it's beautiful.
Yeah, like that's the light bulb, right? Like, you know, you're not in that place forever anymore.
Oh, yeah. Like, don't live there.
Don't live there.
Don't live there. And so many people do. And it's like you said, and we've been saying, it is sad to kind of to see that people aren't willing to respect themselves enough to go outside their comfort zone, right? And there's just so many ways for us to do that, like you just mentioned. And it's just, there's so much great things that happen.
Yeah.
You know, when you're willing to do that, and you know, put yourself first. Like, that is not a selfish act at all. It's beneficial for your life, for your family.
Yeah. Right? And it's so cool because, like, I'm watching my mom, and I feel like our generation we're learning this stuff a little bit younger, right? Like, we're learning, like, to Sammy's point earlier, like, we're changing the status quo, right? Like, things are shifting right now. But my mom is, she'll be 56 in June. And, you know, now is just going through this. Now is just having her awakening, right? You know, it was just this whole, like, finally realizing, like, oh my God, who's Laura? I don't even know who that is, you know, and realizing that played that role of mom, of nurturer for so long, and is now, like, stepping into the light of, and taking herself outside of her comfort zone. And it's like, how long are you willing to wait? You know, like, how much longer do you have stuck inside that dark hallway? You know, like, it's, trust me, it gets old quick. Like, you don't need to do it. No,
I know. That was such a beautiful email you wrote. I really loved that. It struck a chord.
I know, right? I was like, I feel like there's many humans that have been here before.
Yeah. Absolutely. So I guess a little bit of a takeaway for people tonight would be, first thing would be, you know, accept the negative emotions, and don't back away from them. You know, experience them, but then use them to propel you to take positive action, really. Right?
Yeah.
That's a good one.
That is the one, right? And, you know, to a point too that you made earlier, you know, that it doesn't, like, this too shall pass, right? Like, you know, time waits for no one, right? Like, I mean, okay, maybe does time exist? You know, okay,
I know,
conversation, but, you know, but it doesn't, right? Like, we're always evolving, we're always moving forward. So, you know, you can remember when you were a teenager and, like, everything mattered so much, and it was the end of the world if you didn't get to hang with your friends, or you got in a fight with your boyfriend or your girlfriend, right? Like, so, you know, you remember being there, and then you grow up, you're 20, and you're like, whatever. But this is what it, you know, this is what it is, right? Like, we evolve, we move forward always, and it will always come to the place where it's going to be okay again.
Absolutely. But, and I like what?
No, I was just going to say, whether or not you learn from it and you take as much as you can when you get to that place, that's the choice that you have, right?
Yes, absolutely. I love that. And also, a thought is a thought, and a feeling is a feeling. I read that actually earlier today, and I was like, I like that. A thought is just a thought, and a feeling is just a feeling. Nothing more. That's it.
Yeah.
I love that.
I love it too. I love it too.
Yeah.
And, that's where that piece of intention comes in, right? And where what I was just saying with the choice, it's a thought is a thought and a feeling is a feeling. You're feeling crappy for a week. That's okay. But what choice you have there is whether or not you learn from that and you take something from it. And that's where the intention comes in. And that's, we talk about manifesting, we talk about law of attraction, all of these things. The intention is the magic ingredient. Without that.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely. And it's funny how, like, when, I lost my train of thought again. Why is that happening tonight?
It's a full moon. We gotta find out about all of these planets being retrograde. If anybody knows how these dates are happening, apparently there's going to be 4 planets in retrograde.
Yeah.
If knows, please you can post it in this. I'm looking for it. So
that explains a lot.
Yeah, I think so. I think. Well, tell us what the angels are saying today. Tell us what.
Oh, yes. Okay, which one should I pull from? Should I pull from Angels Daily Guidance or the Unicorn deck? Where's my other one? Oh, it's in my bag for my dream candy stuff. So it's
okay. So unicorns or angels? What are you feeling today? What's your gut saying?
I think I'm going to go with the angels. I love unicorns, but
I was feeling angels too. Right on.
Were you?
Yeah.
Cool. All right, my dear. Let's just kind of pick a card for tonight. Just bear with me while I do my little thing here. I shuffle them and put my energy on them. That's what
love it.
Takes me a second. So what do we need to know? What do we need to know?
All the stuff.
Tonight. What do we need to know? Woo! Okay. Well, a couple of them fell out here.
Ooh.
Oh my gosh. And the first one that fell out?
You can't make this stuff up.
Fresh air.
Oh, awesome. I love that.
Fresh air. Your body needs refreshment from oxygenated air generated by grass, trees, plants, and flowers. Spend time outside today, as near to Mother Nature's cradle as possible. Open your curtains and windows to refresh your home as well. So what else does that mean? Let's see.
I love it. And we've had such great weather too. I mean, I'm not sure how it's down in New Glasgow, but it's
beautiful. So beautiful. The angel sent this card to you because you need some fresh air. You've been indoors far too long and your body and soul crave oxygen. Open the windows in your home and office to air them out. Then go outside yourself and breathe deeply. If you live in the city, make an escape to the country as soon as possible to breathe some much needed fresh air. Keep plenty of live plants in your home and office to ensure the steady circulation of oxygen. So it says also, exercise outdoors, get some sunshine, spend time around trees or plants, reconnect with nature, bring some fresh air into a stale situation.
I love it. 2 things that are coming to my head right now because it is amazing. All of this talk about being alive, all of those things are alive. They are living, breathing, the sun, the summer, the spring, new, fresh, new life like coming up. And also, Ricky, I hope you're listening because that's a message for you in this weekend coming up.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
He'll need that.
He will need that. Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
And then the other one that fell out with it was the Go For It card, which actually has a unicorn on it.
Yeah.
It has a freaking unicorn.
I love that. That's amazing. Go for it. Go for it. Come on that unicorn and ride into the sunshine and live your life. Live your life.
I know. It's I'll read what it says. It says, your prayers and positive expectations have been heard and answered. We've been working with you on this situation since its genesis, and we continue to watch over you and everyone involved. Stay on your present path, as it will take you very far indeed. So it says I love it. You drew this card as encouragement for the situation you're asking about. The angels reassure you of a positive outcome, provided you continue to pour love and guided action into the situation. So don't hesitate. Now is the right time. You're on the right path. The idea that you have is divinely inspired, and the angels foresee a successful outcome.
Amazing. Whatever ideas you guys are thinking about as we're talking about these things, whatever's coming up for you, do them. Listen.
Yeah.
Listen.
Seriously. Go for it.
Go for it. Very cool. Awesome.
And nature, basically. Fresh air.
And if you need to hear more ideas, that's a great place to go hear them. Fresh air and nature.
And I just had to point out too, I don't know if you can see in these two cards. I'm sorry, I'm holding this up. Yeah. But look at the angel wings on both of the cards. They're like identical.
They are. There was a message coming together for sure.
Yeah, they were both meant to be. Crazy.
Awesome.
So, anyways, whoa!
I know we're pushing it here. Thanks everybody for joining. And as always, any questions, comments, concerns, pop them in there, and we will always answer them. So
absolutely.
And if anybody wants more information on the Unleashing the Sacred Feminine program, I will be putting in a link for more information in there after as well.
Yes. Sounds amazing.
Awesome.
All right, everybody. Have a great night.